Good morning. Welcome to Home Sweet Gardens. My name is Amy. I am in Northwest Missouri, growing zone 6A. It is July 23rd, 2020. Today I want to talk about fall gardening and seed storage. I'm combining the two because they kind of go hand in hand. So it's towards the end of mid to end of July. Our second wave of growing, if you will, for the summer gardening is about ready to come in. I got to start thinking of what I want to have in the garden for fall. I'm gonna be honest, I have never really done a fall garden before. Typically by this time, maybe by August, I am inundated and done and just kind of go, I'll just start again next year. But I really want to try and do a fall garden this year for a couple of reasons. One, I did not get as large of a harvest this year as I have in the past. I've had trouble with some pests and lost several plants due to COVID and seed shortage and stuff. I didn't count on the fact that seeds would be hard to come by, so I wasn't able to get some of the seeds that I normally would have, so wasn't able to plant some of the things I would have liked to plant. That happens. I mean, you know, it's life and we make the best of it and go on, right? But so I do want to try and do a fall garden this year. So as I'm thinking about it and going through and saying, what do I want to plant? Where, when, you know, what's coming out of the garden? What's gonna be lasting, you know, and then of course your frost dates and how long I'm gonna have, I got to start thinking about that. So as you can see, I have all this stuff scattered out here on the table. And there's a lot of planning in gardening. Once, you know, you could just go out and take a seed and stick it in the ground and walk off and that's it. But when you get to the point to where you are growing a decent amount of food, or you are starting to succession plant, or you're starting to do fall and spring and mid and that kind of thing, there does tend to be quite a bit of planning that goes in with that. And I've talked about the journaling and stuff like that before, and it's a really good idea, and I should do more of it and take my own advice. I have great intentions, and my follow-through isn't always the greatest. So, but this year I want to try and do some frost hardy type plants, do more brassicas, which would be your cabbages, your broccolis, you know, that type of stuff. I want to look at getting some stuff in the ground that you would actually leave in the ground through until spring, like garlic and onions and things like that. I've read about it, I've not done it, and that seems kind of interesting to me, so I'm going to see if maybe doing that as well. But in order to do all that, I have to know what seeds I have. Am I going to be able to get any more? Places are still out of seeds. I was looking most of the morning, and it seems like everybody's still sold out on so much. So it looks like I'm probably going to have to make do with what I've got, which kind of makes you look at your seeds and say, wow, I have stuff that I should be using instead of getting new. If you're like me, you're always looking, going, ooh, that one would be good. Let's get some of that, or I want to try this variety. When you've been using one that works just fine, it's just not the new and cool one. So I talk about that, getting the seeds in the ground, what I'm going to be planning for fall, and then also how I store my seeds. Not talking about saving seeds from plants, because that's something that I'm learning to do. I'm not going to sit here and do a video and tell you how to save seeds from plants when I've not done it myself consistently. You know, I've done it a little bit here and there, but I'm very new to that. So what I'm going to be talking about is how you store and organize the seeds that you have, whether you save your own seeds or whether you buy them. When I first started gardening, you know, I'd get a package of seeds and I would open them up, I would plant something, and then I would fold it over, because that's what my mom always did, and there you go. When you're only planting one or two things, this isn't that big a deal. And then I would usually put them in a Ziploc bag and I would have them. So I'd have a couple, 3, 4 bags of seeds in here, not a big deal. But then when you get to the point to where you have 30 and 40 seed packets, now you have more Ziplocs. Then I had a Ziploc for flower type ones, and I had a Ziploc for vegetable ones. And then I have to go back and forth. And then when you tear off the top, a lot of times you may end up tearing off the name. And like, see, this one I didn't end up tearing the name off all the way, but it was close. But I have done that in the past, so then you don't remember what it was. A lot of times you can see by the picture, obviously this is a corn. It's a special type of corn. But sometimes, like if it looks like this, well, we know those are peas, but what kind? Don't know, because I tore the name off of it. You know, some of the seed packages have dates. Let me see, one of these here has it, possibly. A lot of times the date for the plants or the seeds of when they were, how good they're till, would be on the bottom. Well, so I started tearing off the bottom of the seed packet because then I'd have the name. Well, now I don't have the date, so I don't know. You know, I know that I bought these this year because I bought, but next year I might not remember, and so I might think, oh, they're only a year old, when actually they're 4 or 5 years old. You don't know. And then they can open up, the seeds can spill out, you can lose them, you know, that kind of thing. I make myself sound like I'm really unorganized. But these are just things that I've learned going through. What? Terry dog, come here. Come here. So they don't think I'm talking to the floor. This is my dog. And she's being a pain. Mwah. A good girl. Say, oh, no, yuck. Say hello. Say hello, hello, hello. Okay, go away. She's very nosy. Always wants to see what I'm doing. Okay, so as I started thinking about how I want to keep my seeds, what I want to do, I came up with a storage container. And this is my storage container here. It's really rather simple. I think I got this at Walmart. You can get it. I'm always saying Walmart, like I love that place. I absolutely do not like Walmart. If there was any other store that I could go to, I would. But I live in small town USA where there's a couple of mom and pop type stores, but for the most part, the only place to get really anything is either Walmart or Amazon. And so that's why I'm always referencing Walmart, I'm sorry. But you could probably get at Target or, you know, any of those places. I'm sure they have things like this at the garden centers. But what I have found is things that you can buy at regular stores, you're gonna pay more for at a garden center just because it's for gardening. So I'm cheap, and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money on stuff I don't have to, because then I can't buy more seeds and more plants, right? So this is the container that I got. It clamps on. This doesn't have any kind of like vacuum seal or anything, airtight. I just keep this in my back room here, which stays relatively, it gets warm in the summer, it gets cold in the winter, but it's not so hot that the humidity is high in here. It's not so cold that things would freeze hard, you know. So a relatively, if you have a room somewhere and you're in the top of a closet or something anywhere, it's not like it takes up a lot of space. So this is what I have, and this is what I keep my seeds in. And then come spring or fall or whenever I decide to plant, I can just take this whole container down to the garden with me. I set it down on my table and I can open it up and I get my seeds out of it instead of having to try and juggle and carry seeds. So it really has worked out well so far. As far as keeping the plants together, or I'm sorry, the seeds, you know, some of them are done this way. This is like this because I planted these a couple of weeks ago, these dragon tongue beans, and I brought them back here, set them on the table because I knew I wanted to do this video, and haven't done anything with them. So again, my unorganization is showing through greatly. But so after I open the package, and I normally open the very bottom, I try to open and take off as little of the package as possible. Like here, I just kind of slit through the very bottom. So this is a Baker Creek, and on the Baker Creek ones, it showed, and the package actually split open all the way, so I had to kind of try and save it. But the date is up here, along with the name, which is nice. So you can tear the bottom off and you don't lose that. And these are packed for 2020, sell by 12/31/20. So this is a seed, this is a package that was designed to be sold to be used for the growing season of 2020. Does that mean that they're no longer any good next year? Oh, it's 2021, I have to throw them away. No. I have found that the older the seeds are, obviously the less germination that you have for them, but you don't necessarily have to throw them away after that date. These seeds probably would germinate all the way up to 2 or 3 years. Just wouldn't have as good of a rate. It might be a good, or it might not. It kind of depends on how they germinate to begin with. If you keep them in a somewhat dark and a cool place that doesn't have a lot of humidity in it, then not too much hot, not too much cold, then I would think that your seeds would last a lot longer. So I get these, and then I purchased these bags from Amazon. I don't remember the exact amount, whatnot, but I need to get some more of them. So when I do, I will put the link in the description part of this video. But they're decent size. You take here's a Burgess seed packet that fits in it just well. Any of your seed packets that you would get, say from, you know, Walmart or Orscheln's or any of your just regular plain stores, obviously would fit in there. Your Baker Creek seeds packages tend to be the biggest ones that I have ever gotten. There may be other seed companies that sell them larger than this, but they fit in them as well. So they're big enough to be able to fit pretty much whatever size seed bag you have. They're pretty good thick plastic, as you can hear, and they have a nice quality zipper on them. So I really like these, and they came in a package of, I think I had like 50 or something like that. I can't remember exactly. Anyway, so I take these and I put my seed packet in here, get out as much of the air as I can, and voila, there you go. I don't write on the bag because I want to be able to use it again. So once this is gone, I may have a different one that I want to put in it. And so, or if I want to put two, I could put like my dragon tongue on one side and my purple queen on the other side, and I could put 2 packages of beans in here. So I don't want to write on my bags per se. I guess you could write on the very top here if you wanted to, but I usually just make sure that I keep the name of the seed package, or I guess you could write on the package itself and it would show through the plastic. But that way I can reuse my bags. And then you'll see a lot of them are folded over like this because that's how they will then fit into my container. So to organize them in here, because you could just stick them all in here and they would fit just fine, but then you'd have to be digging through every single one of them every single time. And this is a new one because I have to make another one. This one's getting full. So I was gonna do one for vegetables and one for flowers and other types of seeds. So vegetables and then all others. But you know, you can just stick this in here and it'll fit in there just fine. But you know, like I said, then you gotta dig through. Put them in alphabetical order, I guess, that kind of thing. But still, then you gotta dig through, and I just don't think that that's, excuse me, the optimal way to do it. So I took and made myself, don't laugh, made myself a template, if you will, of a cardboard that would, yep, it'll fit right in there too, that fits right inside here. And I made it with tabs, and so when I did it, I made them so that they would sit like that. Now, and I just used pizza boxes work, your Pepsi boxes might work, but really you want something that's going to be a little bit thicker. Like this one was a Bisquick box. This one was Girl Scout cookies box. Oh my goodness. Here was a Ritz cracker box. So whatever boxes you can find. Or like if you get something shipped to you, my husband had bought something and it came shipped in this. So then you can open, this is actually 2 pieces that are taped together. But then you can use that. So really whatever type of cardboard you have, a little bit thicker works better because then it's not quite so flimsy. And the way I did it is I wrote the names. I didn't put varieties, I just put asparagus, basil, bay, beans, broccoli, catnip, I just put cucumber, and then whatever varieties of cucumber I have, I put behind that tab. Eggplant, same thing. So like you look at my eggplant tab here, and I have, that's not an eggplant, two different types of eggplants in there. I have a Black Beauty and an Aswad, I'm not sure how to pronounce that. So I have two different kinds behind my eggplant tab, if you will. My peas, my beans and my peas, I think had the most because I had a ton of those. But squash, zucchini, you know, I tried to write it through. Of course, then I have flowers inside here too. The other thing you could do is you could make them A, B, C, D, you know, or you could go A through C, D through F, you know, that kind of thing. You can obviously label them however you want. I cut the little tabs out. You could go to the store and get those little sticky file tabs that you do for paper or whatever, and which have little cardboards that slid inside of it. You could do those. Really, it doesn't matter how you did it, just whatever works for you. And then that way you can organize all your seeds. You can see I have like asparagus 2017 that I had. I don't have an asparagus tab, so I had to, what did I do? It must have fallen out. You didn't see that part. Here's my bush bean purple queens. This was from Burpee, or no, yes, Burpee. And okay, so see, this one won't fit inside there. So in this case, what I would do is I would just cut the name out of this, and the date's down here, so I'd probably cut the name out and just write the date on there. I just dump the seeds in the bag and then put that piece of paper in the bag with the seeds. And then that way, you know, I know what it is and I'm not writing on my bag, because like I said, I reuse these quite a bit. The biggest thing about saving or storing and organizing your seeds is making it the easiest for you. This works good for me. I will probably end up changing it up just a little bit. As the more experienced I get, the more I start to grow, the more I have to tweak this, the more seeds I have. When I started making this, I took all the seeds out and I had just a pile. I couldn't believe how many seeds I had. Oh my gosh, I got way more seeds than I need. But I never know what I'm gonna grow, so I need to have lots. But you know, the biggest thing is finding out how your garden works for you, how you organize in your regular life. You know, are you a super detailed person that has to have everything just right in a row? Are you that type of person that just can just go by the fly, you know, whatever? You need to know what your style is, and then find something that will help you. Yeah. I've gone through my seed storage, and I have pulled out all of the different plant seeds of things that I know that I can grow during the fall harvest or fall planting season. I've got roughly 70 to 80 days before the first frost projected date. So most all of these will grow within that amount of time. Now I need to figure out what I want more of and where I'm gonna put it if I have enough space. Because I still have stuff that's in the garden. I've got bell peppers that are going, my okra is growing strong. I've got beans, new sets of beans planted where the carrots were. And my purple queen beans are starting to die out. They're starting to turn a little brown, the leaves and whatnot. They're starting to slow down on their production, so they'll be coming out pretty soon, so I'll be able to put something else in there. But I need to figure out where I have space to put stuff and what's gonna be leaving so I have more space. So it kind of is, it takes a little bit of, you know, tweaking and thinking about that. So I'm gonna do some beets, and I can pretty much put them right where I had them before. And actually I may stick these next to my beans that I just put in a different spot. but I can get these in the ground. I know I have room for them. They're a quick grower. They, well, it doesn't say the length time on here, but 14 to 21 days to sprout. But I know that they can be grown in the fall. And it says here, so 3 to 4 weeks before last frost. So we know that it can go in through the fall. So that's a given. Okay, kohlrabi, same thing. It is frost hardy. It says to direct sow in rich soil 2 to 3 weeks from 2 weeks from last spring frost, or 2 to 4 weeks before first autumn frost. So I still have a little bit of time on these. So this could be something that I could put in once the beans are completely out, or once my bell peppers have pretty much gotten done. So it's what, July 23rd. So probably closer to mid-August is when I would plant these. So I do want to put, I have fallen in love with this vegetable, never had it before. So I know I want to plant these, but this is going to be a little bit later in the year, in about a month probably. Okay, radishes, same thing as the beets. They can be planted pretty much any time. It says here to, again, in late summer for fall crop. And it takes about 60 days. So remember I said about 60 to 70 days, 70 to 80 days. So I need to get these in the ground pretty quick. Okay, cucumbers. I do have cucumbers growing. Unfortunately, they are the pickling cucumbers, and that's not what I want. I actually want the straight 8 cucumbers. So I think that I'm probably going to tear them out. I had 4 butternut squash plants, and 3 of them have died. It's very sad. I know. I've lost 3 butternut squash, both of my zucchini, and 1 of my squash, yellow squash actually, to vine borers and cucumber wilt. Just every time I go down the garden, I don't want to go because I'm afraid of what's died next. And I don't know if you've gotten to that point in your garden where you go, that's it, I quit. I don't want to do it anymore. Nothing's working right. You know, I felt like that way last night when I went down there and saw my 3rd butternut squash plant died, because out of all the stuff I've planted, that was the one thing that I wanted a large harvest of, because I wanted to preserve it and have it, because I really like butternut squash. And so I planted 4, and we only have a family of 3, so that I would have an overabundance. And now I have 1 plant left, and at this point I'm lucky if I might even get a butternut squash, let alone any that I can preserve. So a very sad day in the home sweet garden last night. But anyway, so I will probably plant some of these straight 8 cucumbers where my butternut squashes were. Yes, we still have the vine borers, and I have the squash bugs, the devils of pests. But I think that because of their life cycle, I'm hoping that that will be pretty much done by the time these start to get bigger. And then I'm hoping that I won't have as much pests. I don't know. I've heard lots of people talking about putting these vining squash type plants in the fall because they have less trouble with pests. So wish me luck on that one. So these are straight 8s, 58 days to harvest. So I've got enough time, but I'm gonna get them in here pretty quick. Same with my zucchini. I have zucchini green bush and zucchini black beauty squash. Black beauty zucchini. The black beauty is what I've always grown. This year I grew the green bush. I didn't really see a whole lot of difference, other than the fact that this didn't tend to put off as many fruits as what the black beauty did. So this says 48 days, and that is the one thing I do not care for when it comes to the Baker Creek seeds. It does not give you how many days. That would be nice, Baker Creek, if you would put the amount of days to harvest. That would help out a lot. But it says outdoor indoor started plants after last frost date. So I would assume though that this would be relatively the same as your other varieties. So, but I will probably go ahead and just plant my Black Beauty, because I know for a fact that they put on quite a bit of fruit, and I think they may actually be a little bit more resistant to pests than what the other ones were. So I'm going to get some of them in. Okay. All right, now broccoli, again, can be grown. It is frost hardy. It says 74 days. It says that so from fall to early spring. So it looks like I can put these in 74 days. I should have enough time if I get them in pretty quick. Peas, same thing. They are frost hardy. These are Wando peas. They seem to be pretty good. I don't do reviews specifically because my experience may not be the same as anybody else's, but I have found that although Baker Creek has a lot of really neat varieties of plants that other places may not have, I don't feel that their germination rate is very high. It seems like for the last couple of years I've ordered from them, and I'm not real thrilled about it. So it's about, at best, 75% really for a lot of their plants. So like my peas, planted a bunch and not all of them came up. Some did well, some did not. It just, I don't know, they seem to be iffy, but this is the only peas I have right now. But these are, oh, it says frost hardy and 4 weeks ahead of the last frost date, or in late summer for a fall harvest. And these are a trellis. At this point in time right now, I don't have a trellis. That doesn't mean I can't make one. But I would like to get some peas in again if I'm able to. So I'm going to put them here. This is the ones that I'm going to be putting in right now. This is later. The broccoli and the summer and the Black Beauty, I find a spot for them, but I want to put them in. Okay, bush beans. All three of these beans here. I've got my Dragon Tongue, my Purple Queen, which me and I talked a little bit earlier in the video about how cut it off, put that in there. I went ahead and put them in there. Excuse me, so you can see that. And then my Chinese red noodle beans, which I'm just starting to get some noodles off of them, and they're really cool. I haven't tried them yet, so but they're pretty neat looking. None of these are frost hardy, so that you can plant them for a fall harvest. I just planted these a couple weeks ago. They're just starting to come up. They're about that tall right now, so I probably won't put any more of those in. So I've already got those in. These are prolific. Oh my gosh, so much fruit has come off of these beans. And these are ones that I got from Burpee. So it's Burpee Bush Bean Purple Queen is the name of it, if you're interested in those. An amazing bean. They are a little bit more mild than your traditional, you know, Blue Lake or whatever green bean. I really like them. They're deep purple, and then when you cook them, they go green. It's kind of cool. They actually were good pickled as well. So if you're interested in that, never had pickled beans before, they were pretty good. Anyway, I would like to try and get another round of these in, but I'm not so sure that I'll be able to because of my spacing and how much I have. My red noodle beans, since I just am starting to pull them off, I doubt I'll put any more of those in this year. I might try and save a spot so I can succession plant them more next year, and then maybe do it for a second harvest on those. But for this year, I probably won't do any more of those. Okay, now my gambling ones. I'm not really a gambling gal, but in this sense, I'm going to. I told you my butternut squash took a turn for the worst. It was a sad day. I wanted to have a funeral for my plants. My husband laughed at me, but you know, whatever. Anyway, I have two types of butternut squash. I have the Waltham butternut, which I just got this from the store. You know, basic. It's your traditional butternut squash. In fact, I still have two from my last year's growing season. This one is no good. Obviously, I need to throw it out. along with the onions or the potatoes that I have growing underneath the table. Oh my gosh. This is what happens when you leave them too long. Wow. Okay. Anyway, but this squatty little guy, and he's so cute, is from last year. And he was one of the last ones that came off of the vine, and so that's why he's so little. And I could probably still eat this. It's still pretty hard. It is getting a little softer to where I can put a thumbprint in it though. So, you know, if I would have eaten this a month ago, I'm sure it would have been perfect. But now I won't eat it now because I've let it go a little bit too long. But so that is 8 months that I've had these. That is insane. And I've had them underneath this metal table here in the back room. It's been somewhat dark when I'm not using it. Obviously, it's somewhat cool in the summer. Gets a little cool, colder in the winter, but doesn't freeze. So, you know, that they have an incredible shelf life as that. And then, of course, if you dice them up and freeze them, or you can dehydrate them, or however you want to do it, can them. You know, they're an amazing fruit and very versatile. I use them in soups. I use it in all kinds of different things. So, but I'm going to definitely plant some of these. This is the ones that I have in the ground right now. These are from Baker Creek. These are the butternut rugosa violina Gioia. I have no idea. Gioia. Basically, it's an Italian butternut type of fruit. Deep orange and sweet. I don't know because I've not had one yet, but they're bumpy. You can see that the texture on them is a lot bumpier, where these are going to be your smooth ones. But I think that the pests might have gotten to them a little more. It doesn't seem like last year I didn't lose. I think I lost one of these out of the 4 that I planted last year, and this one I've had 1 survive. And I started, I think, 8 of these, and they did not all germinate, whereas these did. So, anyway, this was what was a surprise to me, because I've always been told that your winter squashes, all winter, summer squashes, they're all the same, okay? If you take a zucchini and let it go all the way to the end, it's going to end up getting large, and the rind's going to get hard on it and everything like that. It just tastes better when it's smaller. So that's why we call it summer squashes, because you pick them when they're still young. I didn't know that. That's something that I had to learn as I started gardening. Winter squashes means that you don't pick them until closer to winter because they have a longer growing season. But I'm looking at this Waltham butternut, and it says days to harvest 50. I didn't know that. Oh my gosh, I think I can actually get some in. So I am going to try it, because what's going to happen if they don't grow? If the frost comes and it kills them, well, then it kills them. I didn't have any anyway. I've already got seeds, so I'm going to try both again in a different spot, and probably plant several. So maybe I might get 1 stinking butternut squash out of it. Anyway, so I'm going to be planting these again. So I don't have a lot of space for my plants, so I'm gonna have to get real creative. I may have to stick some out in the yard. I don't know, but I'm definitely going to be getting me some butternut squash. So for my fall garden, I'm going to do the 2 different kinds of the butternut, cross my fingers and gamble and hope I have enough time to get some. I would like to do some broccoli. It depends on if I have enough time for it. Well, the zucchini and cucumber, I definitely want to put some more in. Radishes and the beets are going to go in. I have room for them already. The peas and the bush beans are going to be if I have enough space. So I and my kohlrabi absolutely will be putting in, but it won't go in until later. So those are the ones that I'm going to be planting for my fall garden. Now we'll see if it happens. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's video. I hope I've given you some tips and some tricks, especially with the organizing of your seeds. If you have any better ideas or different ideas, or something that you're doing that you like and works for you, please leave a comment, a picture or something, because I can always learn something new. And if this works for you and you want to use this whole idea or parts of it, go ahead, and I hope it helps. As far as your fall gardening, if you're going to be planting one, or if you're not sure, go for it. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen, right? If you don't plant something, you're just going to get weeds. So you might as well plant something that you might get something from, is what I think. But anyway, I hope it helped. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you liked it, give me a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. I put on a garden tour video every Saturday. You load it, typically about Sundays when it gets loaded and up onto YouTube. Kind of do a weekly tour. It shows the whole garden, full garden tour of what's going on in the garden, and you'll get to see the sad, lonely spots where my butternut squash died. Sad. Anyway, stay healthy, stay safe, and happy.